Welcome to the Igniting the CEO Within podcast, where we interview successful, high-level professionals to discover lessons they've learned throughout their career that can help ignite that CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge, and I'll be your host for the next 15 minutes or so. Our show is sponsored by Quaid, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quaid has developed a platform for CPA firms, financial advisors, and other professional service firms to deepen existing relationships, attract new clients, add advisory revenue, and impact the lives of CEOs and entrepreneurs. If you'd like to learn more, go to quaidcircle.com. I'm super excited. I get to hang out with Igor Tutelman today. He's the managing partner of Iota Finance out of Cleveland, Ohio. Igor, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. Glad to be here.
Yeah, this will be a lot of fun. Just in our talks, this is going to be a really good episode. You get exposure to a lot of different leaders and entrepreneurs and founders and CEOs in the work that you do. If you were to take a look at all of them and start to separate those great leaders from the not so great leaders, what is a trait or two that separates those really great leaders?
The first one that comes to mind, and this is one that I've worked on a lot in my own professional journey, is the ability to delegate. I think it's one of the most important things that you need to figure out, and it's a muscle you need to develop because it's not innate. And that I think is one of the inflection points in any small business becoming a big business and any manager becoming a director, becoming a VP, becoming a CEO. That's one of the most important things that I see on a day to day with small businesses, entrepreneurs, and Fortune 500 CEOs is the ones that can unlock the ability to relinquish control, to unlock leverage are the ones that will go much further in their entrepreneurial endeavors and their professional career.
I love that. Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly. I think, one of the things that we talk about a lot in our peer groups is um, the founder, the CEO has to figure out where they are most valuable to their company and focus more on that, right? Strategic relationships, strategic vision, all those things, which means you've got to delegate the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no way around it. If you are working on admin work just because you're the only one that knows how to do it, is that admin work really bringing in your billable rate of whatever, 500, $700 an hour? I mean, I run into entrepreneurs all the time that say, I want to make $1 million a year after taxes. And I tell them, okay, realistically, you got to be making at minimum $500 an hour. And in order to do that, what are you doing today that isn't making you $500 an hour and can be done by somebody that makes $20 an hour, $50 an hour, $100 an hour? Because you have to buy back your time to unlock that growth potential, to focus on, which I think is the second most important trait, is focus on what is most important, what drives the needle, that which you can do, like you said, that nobody else can. The perspective that you have from all these years of doing it as a technician and understanding what the pain points are for your customer, for your end user, and using that in order to continue to grow whatever you're growing.
You and you, I yes, all of that. One of the things that you said up front was it's not innate. That is not an easy thing for somebody to do, especially a founder, right? How do you help them, or how did you? You said you this is part of your journey too. How did you start to overcome that? How did you start to realize that delegation was so important, and then actually physically start doing it?
I think the first step is awareness, right?
Right.
And so leadership is something that I've struggled with. My very first startup, I built it up into a team of 14 before I had a little exit. And that was one of my biggest regrets is I never really learned how to manage the team. And we managed to get lucky in what we did more than it being a reflection of skill or like prowess. And that was the one thing that I wanted to focus on in my next journey. And it's something that I've still been focusing on each day because you can read all the books you want about it. right? That's not really delegation. That's really coming down to I have an opportunity for growth here that is holding me back from my full potential, and the books will help you put words to it and understand how it impacts other people. I think the next part is then talking to the people that it's impacting and getting an understanding of them of, am I just in my head about you can't do this? Or, can you take on something like this? And what do you need for me to give you that so that you feel enabled, so that you feel like you can succeed in taking this on? And then I think there's a large part of feedback and understanding, did this work? Did this not work? Um, and I think the last step is really acceptance, because when you delegate, it's not going to get done the way that you would have done it.
Mhm.
And that's not a bad thing. That's just a thing. It might only get done 80% as good as you would have done it. And still, that's better. Is that last 20% really going to move the needle that much? Right? Is it really going to change and, move the earth if you don't get that last 20%? I don't think so. And in my experience, that it really doesn't make that much of a difference. It's you got to release control in order to leverage. And that's the only way you do it, through feedback, through iterations, and through doing it on a day to day, and getting an understanding of what I'm doing working, and is the result good enough? Not perfect,
Yeah.
but good enough to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and candidly, I think sometimes it could be done 120% better than if you were to do it. Like, that empowerment piece that comes along with it is so valuable to the growth of your team, right? They love it. They cherish the ability to be empowered, to be given a goal and say, go do this. That's going to build your company faster than anything else you can do.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And what determines that, I think that 120% that we all strive for is when they come in the first time at 40%, how do you treat that conversation? Do you focus on, oh, this is how I would have done it, and, take it
Mhm.
back over from them and do it in front of them and then hand it back to them with them not learning anything? Or do you treat it as, walk me through your thought process here. Why did you go down this route? Why did you decide to approach it this way? There's no wrong answers here, but I'd just like to understand your perspective some more. And then some gentle feedback, some constructive criticism, right? But also a little bit of praise, because you were probably at 40% or less when you tried it the first
Yeah.
time. And, you probably didn't have a mentor that helped you that same way.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. Hey, you mentioned you had a second trait that you see in a lot of the great leaders and entrepreneurs that you're around.
It's focus. It's especially in the world of entrepreneurship. It was one of the big issues that I faced, and then I saw a lot of other founders face, is when they start a company to solve a problem, to, you know, fill a gap in a solution, to focus on a pain point, but then they think, okay, I need revenue from here, 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 and here. And so they start diluting their vision in order to, build out these service lines and these functions and build out a infrastructure around what the company will look like in 20 years, as opposed to what you need today. And in my eyes, focus is the most important trait for entrepreneurs in specific,
Mhm.
because you do one thing, you solve a problem for somebody, you show them the value that you provide, you rinse and repeat, and you can expand into all the service lines that you want, right? But all the greatest companies were started solving one problem and then becoming behemoths, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's personal computing devices, or whether that's athleisure wear, whatever industry you look in, they solve one problem and then they expand from there.
Yeah, I love that. I think similarly, that's also I don't want to say that it's not innate, but it's easily to get distracted, right? Like focus is hard because you're going to be presented with ideas and opportunities, and all the time. How do you keep that focus? How do you sharpen it in and go, no, no, no. Here's my pathway. Here's where we need to go right now.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I don't. Running. I've been in entrepreneurship for a while now, and I've never really done well with being accountable to others, and there's something in my mind about, not that I don't get the work done, but if I
Yeah.
don't see anything beyond it being an arbitrary deadline, it's going to get pushed off to some degree. So I have to set goals, vision. We have to build out our North Star as an organization. We have to set our pillars. We have to set our goals. And then we have to disseminate that information to everybody so that they see, right? So now it's not just I'm trying to be held accountable by a report. I'm now accountable to our organization as a whole because they share this vision, they believe in it, and they trust me and the team as leaders to get us to that vision. If we don't get there and we show that, we gave it a good college try and put our all into it and, pivoted when we needed to and everything worked out okay, I think that's where respect and resilience develops. But if the path changes randomly, haphazardly, the North Star is suddenly different one week to another, that's where the trust is lost.
Mhm.
It's where you start losing motivation because it's a moving target, and that's feedback that I've gotten as a leader, that I've tried to focus on and work on. It's that focus comes from having people that answer to you and look up to you, people that share that vision, support the vision, drive that vision, and you understanding within yourself you are a small part of this machine, but you must do your job. You got to keep winding the clock, whatever it is, and keep doing that thing, because if you start pulling into other people's lanes, you're going to disincentivize them, and pull away from their focus. So that's what's worked for me, at least, is kind of public shaming, for lack of a better
There's
summation, but just everybody's got to know what the vision is. And if it changes, then people notice that it's changing and they will lose their trust and their sight in the vision.
But I think that's good, right? Like, and public shaming is really funny, but I think, posting out your vision, posting out the measurements along the way, right? Like, here's where we're going, here's how we're going to get here, here's how we're going to know that we're on the right path. Here's your role in getting that, and laying it all out. That clarity component really helps, because now you can, every decision now can come back to these things, right? And it's not just, I don't know. Let's see. Right. Like I had a CEO that I worked for at one point, and we used to joke that he was kind of like the jelly of the month club. Like, whatever leadership book he read that month was, our new direction. It was like, whoa, that was whiplash all the time. But that publicly putting out your vision, how you're going to get there, what are the measurement tools along the line, and then who's doing what along the way, really provides that pathway to that North Star that you're talking about. And everybody knows it, and can see it, and can touch it, and can understand it. And that becomes a pretty powerful play. Although I do like public shaming. I think we should institute more of that.
I think we got to bring it back. Can't throw. We should. Zoom should implement a feature where you can throw tomatoes when you disagree instead of the thumbs up.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. I love it. I love it. Hey, let me, as we start to wrap up, go back. You've had a really cool career, but go back to 21-year-old Igor. And what is one thing that you wish he knew that you've learned over these years?
Really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Whatever you're worried about, whatever you're stressing out about, it's not going to make a difference in, at most a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And when you think about it, a year when you're 21 is 5% of your life. A year when you're 80 is what? Oh, 1.2% of your life,
Yeah.
right? And a year isn't going to make a difference. So 21-year-old Igor, I would tell him, go on that trip, think about spending less time in the classroom and more time pursuing interests and doing the things that bring you joy and fulfillment, as opposed to the things that you think you should be doing because these are the expectations that have always been set around this is what you should do after you graduate college, after you enter the workforce, after your 9 to 5 for a performance review. But I was pretty free spirited at that point and hated establishment institutions. So I think I was okay. I just think I put too much weight on time being a limiting factor as opposed
Yeah,
to a point of perspective. And this too shall pass.
that's cool. I love that. Hey, do me a favor. Last thing, what does a typical engagement with Iota Finance look like, and how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so we step in when businesses are making money, but their books are a mess and their taxes are becoming more and more cumbersome. We're a fractional finance team that helps small businesses with managing their bookkeeping, payroll, APAR, tax prep, and advisory work. If they want to learn more about what we do, go to www.iota-finance.com, or check me out on LinkedIn where I'm posting pretty often.
I love it. Igor, this has been a blast. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for having me, Mark. I appreciate it.
You bet. All right, y'all, we've done it again. We found another amazing leader with incredible experiences to help you out in that CEO seat or on your pathway there. As we wrap up, I want to remind you that Igniting the CEO Within is sponsored by Quaid, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quaid has developed a platform for CPA firms, financial advisors, and other professional service firms to deepen existing relationships, attract new clients, add advisory revenue, and impact the lives of CEOs and entrepreneurs. To find out more, visit quaidcircle.com. Until next time, keep igniting that CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge. Thanks for listening.